Dearest gentle listeners, you are listening to the Ladies Bridgerton, the talk of the ton. We are your effervescent host, your neighborhood friendly Kiwi, Tash from Middle Earth, New Zealand.
I'm Patty, Regency romance enthusiast, who's currently writing her audacious and unapologetic era.
Settle down onto your favorite settee as we delve into the lives of the elite and illustrious ladies, lords, and royalty of the ton. This Bridgerton podcast is two friends talking romance, symbolism, Easter eggs, and it's a double recording day, so it's going to be deep, diving into the connections of our favorite characters. We cover both book, TV series, and notable social media, and therefore will contain spoilers.
Kanthony fans, it's your turn. We're given to the people. As we said, Sadia on YouTube asked for an analysis of the spouses. So we're answering. And we have done Daphne and Simon. So now we're moving on to Anthony and Kate. We're focusing on established spouses right now, the people that everyone's familiar with because we have those seasons. We're going to discuss their romance trope, what we think their strengths and challenges will be in marriage now that we have seen their courtship, and when we think they knew, which I think is a little trickier in this season, because it is the trope that it is. So same thing that we did with Daphne and Simon. We are now zip, moving on to Anthony and Kate Sharma.
Time to jump into our snacks for the day.
Pod snacks.
Snacky snacks.
Yep, it's a second recording, so some snacks may be repeated.
Actually, not for me, because mine wasn't pod snacks today because I had to get out of my house between recordings because, hey, wait a minute, I just realized my lights are off in here. I'm like, what's wrong in this room? Something's not right. The lights are off. The lights are off and no one's home. I had to get out because I had open homes for my house today. So my dad took me down to Bunnings. For any Aussies, Kiwis out there, you know that Bunnings is the most magical place in the world. For those not from our corner of the universe, it is Home Depot, except we have, I don't know if your Home Depots over there have like garden centers and cafes attached to them too.
There's a garden center, but there's no cafe.
Oh no, the cafe is where it's at. So I had myself.
We're not that lucky.
I had myself.
But usually all of them are in a town with a Starbucks.
Well, and because they know me so well, you're not supposed to have dogs in there, but as long as they sit on the outskirts of it, they're completely fine with Lily because she just stays in her little doggy bed and sleeps. So my dad took me down there for 45 minutes while we had the open home and got me a chicken cheese toasty and a peppermint tea. And they were like, you don't drink tea. What is happening? And I'm like, I cheated on you and I already had my coffee earlier this morning. So it's tea time. And she was like, good choice.
Yeah.
And yes, not just McDonald's, not just the McDonald's staff know me, but the Bunnings coffee staff know me really well too.
That is so funny.
Those are my places.
That's like the little store in my town. They used to be called Goodman's, so I can say that. The staff there, like after we moved here for a period of time, they do a Monday through Friday like counter lunch, like they make food special and they announce it on Facebook. Their mac and cheese is phenomenal.
Stop it. So I want mac and cheese. I might make mac and cheese for dinner now.
So good. And we were trying like all of their daily lunches until I could say I pretty much had tried everything. So then we would know what was good and what wasn't. I mean, good to us. I don't want to say good, period. Because there are some things they do that people really love that I don't. But yeah, they got to like, we would call in and be like, hey, we want to order for pickup. And they'd be like, two lunches? Are you sending Cam down?
No. Here's the hard-hitting question for you, Patty. Mac and cheese. What are your cheeses of choice? What are your cheeses of choice? I will judge you based on your answers.
I have never made a homemade macaroni and cheese myself. I have eaten, and actually, I'm going to shout out my coworkers' families. Her family owns a couple of restaurants, and one of the places that they own is called Smack. And it is just mac and cheese in different ways but their mac and cheese is phenom, and it's 5 different cheeses. I do not know her cheeses of choice, but it's fantastic. And my favorite thing there, if you're ever in Akron, Ohio, go find Smack and get the Nashville hot mac and cheese. It is my fave.
Gouda
And
is
Finch,
good.
this conversation is for you. Which we really should do them as first spouse too.
Oh, actually, they're my
Finch and
favorite.
Philippa.
They are my favorite couple. So I would actually
They're
love
my
to do
favorite non
Bridgerton. Yeah,
lead couple for
yeah.
sure. And we should do an analysis of the Featherington couples because I think that would be great.
Yeah, and I think we could
Uh,
probably fit both into one, which
into
easy.
one, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
My favorite cheese is a Gouda. I would say if I was making a homemade macaroni and cheese, I would probably use mild cheddar because I think it melts better than sharp. Gouda.
We just have one kind.
We have sharp and mild and medium. I think some people make a medium cheddar, but I would do a mild cheddar and I would do Monterey Jack, which is it's a white cheese. It's the same cheese they use to make pepper jack, but without the peppers.
hmm
I would use so Monterey Jack, mild cheddar, Gouda, smoked Gouda, if I could find that, because that is
No smoked near me, sir. Never.
I love smoked Gouda.
I hate smoked anything.
How can you like me then?
Dufford. She thinks she's so
And
funny.
then Fontina, I have only put Fontina cheese into things that need to melt. I've never eaten it by itself. So I would have to say Fontina. And then probably your standard mozzarella, just so
Mozzie for
it's definitely melty. For the stringy stuff.
the stringies.
For the
Oh,
pull. When
for
you
the
pull it out
pull.
of the dish. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Those would probably be my five of choice.
Now, Patty, I do believe we must make haste.
Well, I didn't even talk about my snacks.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah. So my snacks, I'm not eating the pork rinds and dip anymore. That is over. I can't show the water because I used a water bottle it's not this brand anymore. I got it out of my own water, but I mixed skinny syrups, blue raspberry syrup into some water. So that's my new beverage. And I'm still sipping on my tea and I still have my soda to go. And I'm doing some sugar-free chocolate candies, which I did eat some of those in the last one, but I never mentioned it. But I have some sugar-free chocolate candies because I have a bit of a sweet tooth today.
Yes, I've done all my eating off camera today because I needed my house to stay clean for the open homes. So everything I was like, can't have crumbs because I need to like finish recording and get out like ASAP. And then between this recording, I have work to get to in between. So today they are going to be shorter episodes, but that's why we're just focusing on one couple per episode so that we can really deep dive and analyze, but they will be shorter episodes than what you are used to, but we are just doing what we can with the time frames that we have this week.
We're doing what we love and we love what we do, and this is how we're doing it. So
yes.
Kudos to you, Sadia. We loved your idea and we ran with it.
Now it is time to make haste into today's episode. Where we get to talk about the friends to lovers.
No.
We're enemies to lovers.
Anthony. Enemies to lovers.
So many enemies. An enemy. I'm just the
we have echolalia when that is always funny. Like, how many times do you do that? And it's always funny
because
to me.
I absolutely love Finding Nemo. Okay, so like literally, like I was at the store the other day and I'm like, I'm so tired, and I'm like, just keep swimming, and the girl at Bunnings, she 1000%.
Oh, I say yeah.
She's 1000% like ADHD as well.
That should be a short that we do. I'm writing it down on my short ideas. What are the movie/TV quotes we say all the time?
But yeah, this young girl, she's 1000% also ADHD, and she's always like bouncing off. And I'm like, just keep swimming. And then she's like, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Here's a chocolate to keep you swimming. And I'm like, thank you so much. You know the little the Whittaker's chocolate bar that I sent you in your care package?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she gave me one of those. She was like, this will help you.
Yeah, I do just keep swimming all the time when I'm like kind of in survival.
I'm like, you can do it, just keep going. Gotta self-motivate. Speaking of self-motivating, we've got two very self-motivated characters in today's episode because these are our two most headstrong.
Yes. So let's talk the trope and how that plays into their couple
I mean,
enemies to lovers.
yeah, enemies to lovers, but it's like, what other tropes are there? Because there's kind of like a few going on, like wrong person, like down the aisle, like near mismarriage, like falling in love with
I think
sibling.
every romance is more than one trope
Mm,
if you really think about it. Because not only is like Colin and Penn is friends to lovers, but they're also the Pygmalion type where, like it's a musical, it's one of my favorites, My Fair Lady,
hmm
which is a play off of the Pygmalion story, or She's All That, where, kind of popular guy takes non-popular girl and makes her popular and gets upset because he wants her for himself, realizes he wants her for himself. Like, I think that many romances, and what makes a good romance is that it's not one thing, because friends to lovers being the only quote unquote trope would make this very boring, because it would be a lot of arguing and
You,
then
you know what I just thought of?
what?
As you were talking about all the different tropes in that, about Anthony being the popular guy and Kate being the unpopular girl. What have we seen in the other seasons? We've seen Colin and Benedict be just about chased through ballrooms by
Mm-hmm.
fanfaring girls, but once Anthony sets his eyes on Edwina, we don't see another woman trying to vie for his attention, affection. Hey, dance with me. We don't see the mums crowding him. It's like literally everyone else in the world just disappeared. Not very realistic,
Dang
considering.
you! Because that is something I want to talk about
Sorry.
for Colin and Penn. Actually, it's something I want to talk about for one of our shorts, because we believe that the ton thought they were secretly engaged,
hmm
right?
hmm
Because we don't see a woman approach Colin at all. We do see him dance with someone in season one,
Yes.
but we do not see a woman approach him at all
No.
until the beginning of season three.
Until she
And
started
everybody
giving him the
thinks they
cut.
broke up.
Because she
Yes.
started giving him the cut.
Every
Yes.
because everybody thinks they broke up. Because Cressida and Eloise talking, Cressida would have spread that gossip because she was the gossip spreader, and everybody knew there was a
Well,
falling out between Penelope and the
between they
Bridgertons.
could have thought that that falling out was between Colin and Penn, and therefore Eloise was just supporting her brother.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really
Because you
good
know how
point.
gossip works. You know
Yes.
how gossip works.
Yeah.
But we're going to save that for a different thing. But yes, once a Bridgerton sets their mind to something, I think everybody knows it's a done deal.
Mm. And Anthony is very assertive. And like, I mean, so assertive that like he literally walks himself down the wrong bloody aisle. Like, come on, dude.
But you gotta understand too, like when he walked in and his mom announced it and everybody hovered around him, and then he started going and interviewing all the debutantes and everything.
hmm
We didn't really see anyone hovering around him after that. Like they knew they had their interview and they failed.
I just
So
don't
there's that
see
too.
I don't see the likes of Portia giving up that easy, of Araminta giving up that easy.
Well, and
Because they were desperate.
there was a conversation I got into on the interwebs. I don't remember if it was in our podcast group or out there. So whoever might have sparked this, I'm sorry. About if Anthony was going out and interviewing every eligible debutante, why did he not go and interview Penelope?
Penelope. Because she was already married into the family. It just wasn't official yet.
Well, I think from Anthony's point of view, she's family.
hmm
But I also believe that everyone thought Colin and Penn had an understanding. Look at
Yeah.
how upset they were at the Marina choice and how ecstatic they were. And even Anthony, like
Oh, you
everyone
know
says,
what?
Anthony was upset,
I
that Anthony
wish
was upset,
I
but
wish
he
we
was
got it.
not. He, what?
I wish we got him dancing with Penelope as well, and Colin on the sidelines looking hissy.
Pissed. Oh,
That's my girl. What are you doing laying hands on her?
oh, I wish we'd have thought of manifesting that before the masquerade ball, because that would have been the
hmm
perfect time. Like,
Because
I'm taking your wife on the dance
I
floor.
feel like he's a little petty Nelly. And I think that even though they're married, he's still possessive. He's that kind
Mm-hmm.
that I think he's like, that's my wife. No one gets to lay hands on her. Don't you even look at her.
But well, and think of the beginning of season three and how smooth Anthony was going up and whisking his wife onto the dance floor and then,
Hmm.
sneaking in kisses and stuff like that.
Yes.
Not that I think he would kiss his brother's wife,
No.
but it's a masquerade ball. And I could see Anthony, now that he's all, he's in his happy era, being playful and cheeky, rubbing it into Colin, especially if Colin had a boy and he had a girl, and that's where we're at right now.
Hmm.
That he would go up like, because everybody's going, is that number one, number two, number three? And him going, your wife really knows who's who, right?
Hmm.
And him going up and whisking Penelope onto the dance floor without even giving her a chance to say yay or nay, and them dancing this amazing dance, and Colin just fuming because he's thinking Penelope didn't recognize that it wasn't him.
Hmm.
Only she comes off the dance floor like, why did you send Anthony to dance with me? Like, like she did know the whole time.
Hmm.
That would have been great. It would have been so great.
I love for that. I can't even remember if I made haste in the second time. I think I
Yeah, we
did.
made haste. We made haste. So
Am I
so the
hasting? No, I'm not.
so enemies to lovers trope for me is a trope that has to have other tropes with it. So
Hmm.
it's not an interesting enough story for me. And I know a lot of people like enemies to lovers because the anger that they experience and the animosity and the
Passion.
angst, it's passion. A lot of people unfortunately grew up in the kind of home where anger is passion, is it's
Yes.
all the same thing.
Yes.
So and for me, I'm one of those people, but like I grew up in that, but that's why enemies to lovers for me works in Regency times when your antagonism is through word.
Yes.
You can cut somebody down without touching them physically. And I struggle with modern day enemies to lovers tropes because there's so much physical domination between both people. Like they get in each other's face, they corner someone in a wall, like that kind of stuff triggers me.
Hmm.
So I think that enemies to lovers has to be done delicately to be done right. And it has to be, it does have to be more cerebral to be done right. And I think this is perfection because Anthony is a man who has duty, who doesn't believe he really wants it. Kate is someone who steps up to the plate whenever somebody shouts, duty, duty for sale, free duty over here. She's all about it. Like
Just like
she takes on,
duty free, like on the plane. No, darling.
yeah, yeah, no, darling. No, she takes on any duty that is being handed out, right?
Because she
So
needs to
they're
find her
perfect.
worth.
They're perfect for each other in the fact that she can help him realize that what he does for his family is important
Mm.
and appreciated. And he can take some of the responsibility off of her hands that she deals with emotionally and
Hmm.
allow her to, like, she doesn't have to compete all the time. She doesn't have to prove her worth. Like he adores her so much, she doesn't even question her worth anymore, which
Yes.
I loved seeing. Like I struggled with their season the first time I watched it. I read the book. I liked the book a lot better than the season.
I
But
feel like
after
the
watching
the
season three
book
and going
explains
back
things
to
so
two,
much more.
yeah. Well, after going back after season three and seeing their marriage again, like there's something about me with the Bridgerton bros. Like
But
they
you
really
know,
come into their own when they
I
heal and they're
pre-
married.
I
And
preferred married Anthony than book married Anthony. TV series married
yes,
Anthony. Book
yes,
married Anthony was basically the same as what he was at the
still arrogant.
start.
Yeah,
Still
yeah.
arrogant, still bossy, still trying to tell his siblings what to
But
do
Kate in the
and
book wasn't as
assertive.
assertive
No.
and confident as Kate in the show either.
No.
And I think that plays into it because he needed his match.
Yes.
And Kate in the show, they are each other's match. You can see it from the very beginning, from the
Yes.
first time they interact with each other. It's, oh, that's how it's going to go, right?
Yes.
Because
What's
remember, the first scene we ever see of Anthony in season one is with Sienna against the tree, and he's taking what he wants for money.
yes.
And in season two, the first scene is him racing her and not winning,
Yes.
and her taking what she wants, which is his ego,
Yes.
for free. And
Mm-hmm.
him going, what just happened here? Like, this is a woman I
A
can't
formidable,
best.
a formidable
Yeah.
woman.
Like he'd never met anyone like her.
Or
And
even Sienna, like so, because in order to kind of understand the relationship between Kate and Anthony, I think we have to take a look a little bit
mm-hmm.
at Kate and Sienna as well. Now, sorry, Anthony and Sienna.
Anthony and Sienna.
So Sienna was in two parts. Yes, my lord, anything you say, my lord, you are my lord. Whereas Kate does not treat him as her lord. She treats him as her partner. And she has never been bent to his will. Not when it came to him trying to marry her sister, not when it came to basically anything. Like she is like, hey, I'm
I think it comes down to paid and unpaid labor. And I think that a lot of
mm,
people who stan Anthony and Sienna together and wanted to see that continue did not realize that even though there were genuine feelings of affection between them,
mhm.
there was no love
She
because
wasn't good for him.
Sienna was paid for. She did what she needed to do. She was not her authentic self with
Hmm.
him.
Hmm.
And Kate and Anthony, they were not, their enemy's part was not their authentic selves either. It was their armor. It was their
Hmm.
coping mechanisms for life, but they felt the energy of their authentic selves. And she was the first woman that didn't take crap,
Yes.
right? Because she didn't have to. She didn't need to. She wasn't
Hmm.
trying to get any. She was the only woman he'd ever met that wasn't family, that wasn't trying to get anything from him.
And even his mum, she minces her words when it comes to him. Nothing is ever kind of said straight. Everything's always in riddles and metaphors and beaten
Mm-hmm.
around the bush.
Which is, I
Kate,
laughed out
Kate
loud
was
in season
so
three.
direct. There was no
Yeah. I
like
laughed
she
out loud in
sorry.
season three when he turns to Violet and says, "You could just cajole your children. You don't have a problem doing that." Like,
Yes,
kind
you
of
did it to
speaking to
me.
them
Yeah.
directly. Like, except she doesn't do that with you. She speaks in riddles with you
Hmm.
too. Because when she does speak directly to you, when she is direct, her kids immediately balk, all of them, and they do the
Hmm.
opposite of what she wanted. So
Hmm.
she's had to learn a special communication method with her children.
Manipulation.
Well,
For good,
hello,
not for evil.
with the alphabetical naming and everything else, we know there's tism in this family, and they all have pathological demand avoidance.
Yes. But I love that Kate is the only person in his life who doesn't mince her words with him and she just says it exactly how it is. Like even to the point of completely breaking etiquette in the way that she talks to him. She is blatantly disrespectful. You are not marrying my
Yes.
sister. You are not marrying her for the right reasons. She deserves love. She deserves better than you. Not title, not money, not protection, love. And so she made
Well,
her priorities from the get-go explicitly clear. Spirit
oh my
fingers.
God. Just, oh my God. Think about it. Anthony chose Edwina.
Hmm.
One, because she's the diamond, the queen chose her, right?
Hmm.
But two, he would not have to go through any male to get her. She had no male relatives.
Hmm.
He did not realize that Kate was going to stand up and say, "You have to go through me."
Hmm. And he
That's what
resented it so hard.
he resented it super hard.
Not
And
because she was a
now that
female, but just because of the
and
steps
that
he
makes
had didn't
me
want to do.
the whole communication between him and Colin during the fencing scene about it, if you have a problem with
Well,
the sister, whatever.
yes,
I
I
think
think it
that's
was.
hilarious
I
considering
think.
he went through the same thing in season three.
Well,
He wanted a
considering
woman with no male relative.
Lady Danbury was her ward, essentially, wasn't she? Oh, sorry, other way. Like she was Lady
She was
Danbury's
a
ward.
sponsor.
A sponsor,
Yes.
yeah. So
They weren't wards of hers, but she sponsored them in the season, which means they stay at her house and she's responsible for them, but she is also not male nor relative.
but the way that the etiquette runs, like with Portia, it would very, very likely be Lady Danbury that he thought he was going through, and he's thinking, Lady
Yeah.
Danbury's got a good relationship with my family. I've got this in the bag.
I mean, or Lady Sharma, which she's very docile
But
and
she would have gotten
sweet
her
and
information from Lady Danbury, who would have spoken highly of. Because keep in mind, like if Lady
oh
Danbury
yeah,
just,
she would have gotten counsel from Lady Danbury. But what
but
I'm saying is,
keep
I
in
think
mind, if
Anthony didn't think he would have to deal with any male energy. I think he thought it was going to be
oh,
easy because that's the
Lady
problem with
Danbury is male
Anthony.
energy.
Yes and no. Like the way everybody acts with Lady Danbury, like he knew she sponsored them, but he wouldn't have to deal with her. He
Yeah.
thought he was going to deal with a pretty docile woman. and he would have the upper hand. He did not expect to not have the upper hand
Well,
because ever since he became the Lord, he's always had the upper hand and everything's always come easy to him. Like, and that's why the milk scene in season 1 is so funny because instead of acknowledging that maybe warming milk is hard because there's other steps that go into it that they don't know how to do, they both just go, cold milk it is, and then never mention again how
too
they
hard
don't know how
basket.
to build a fire, right? Like they don't acknowledge the hard stuff that other people do for them because
Hmm.
everything comes easy to them. They're very privileged kids. So I think he thought this would be easy peasy lemon squeezy because there's no male relative he has to deal with. And it's almost like he's gonna be like getting the diamond of the season, but he's also doing her a favor because there's no, I mean, the relationship between him and Edwina would have never worked in the long
No.
run because he would have been domineering, arrogant, overbearing, and she would be a little mouse for the
Submissive.
rest of her
Yep.
life. Yeah.
She would have been absolutely subservient. And what I was going to say before is that even keep in mind that Lady Danbury, she wasn't the ward of the Duke at all, but she was definitely his inner ear, the angel on your shoulder, kind of whispering in what you need to get done. Like
She was
she
his
was his
godmother,
confidant.
so
His confidant,
yeah.
that's the word I'm looking for. And if she was willing to overlook his philandering ways and the raking about town, I don't think that she would have been opposed to Anthony either, because I think she kind of accepted that men, or some men at least, were like that. And as long as they had a
All
good
men then
heart,
pretty I don't want to say all men, but most men
most,
were like that. it was
but he had
it
a
was
good heart
generally
and
it
he
was
treated us,
generally acknowledged that men visited brothels and had
yes,
mistresses and everything
yes.
until they married. Then they took a year off to produce an heir and then they went back to their business.
Yes. And I think that's probably what would have happened had he married Edwina. He probably would have gone back to Sienna again and again and again
And
until
Edwina would have taken a lover herself after she produced an heir.
I don't think she would. I think she was so sensitive that unless she found someone that she fell in love with, I
Well,
don't
that's
think.
but she could. Edwina's
Yes.
so romantic. She could fall in love with somebody. I think she
Mm,
would have taken a lover and been discreet and had a loving life with someone else. It would not have
yeah.
been Anthony.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do think that Lady Danbury, despite Anthony's raking about town and how Kate kind of dismissed him as a courtier, because of that, I don't think Lady Danbury would have been the same. And I think even Lady Danbury got pretty agitated with Kate for her faux pas in society because she's like, hey, yes, he does these things, but he's still from a good family. He's still a good guy. He still has a good heart. Like he's an excellent match. What are you? You are fumbling this.
Well, and I think too that Lady Danbury was so hard on Kate, not just for that reason, but also because she knew Kate had an agenda
Mm,
and she just had to figure out what it was.
yes.
She was very tenacious about that, which is why I 100% knew before coming into season 3 and before episode 8 that Lady Danbury had to know who Lady Whistledown was, and we
Mm,
were going to find out. I mean, we
yes.
know from the books that she suspected, but I think just how tenacious she is herself and how observant she is herself,
Well,
that
I think that Lady Danbury saw a lot of herself in Kate and didn't
mm-hmm,
want Kate to go down the same path as she did when she had
mm-hmm.
the choice to make other decisions. Like Lady Danbury didn't get a choice. She was married off at such a baby. She was a baby when she was married off. She didn't get to make that choice. Whereas Kate was choosing to stay unmarried for the fear of potentially ending up like Lady Danbury or just not having options. If you don't try, you can't be rejected.
Right. She didn't feel like she was good
Was
enough
worth.
to get
Yeah.
married in the circles she was in. She was in that in between space, and it was very
Mm,
hard for people like that
mm.
that were not of noble birth themselves but got thrust into
We're adjacent.
the gentry. They became adjacent. Like in
Mhm.
her situation, her father was not titled at all, but then her stepmother is.
Mm.
And that's her only family left after her father passes away. And she would not be accepted. And truthfully, no one would have looked twice at her
No, because
um,
a female
value.
value is nothing. So her mother being part of the ton means nothing to anyone, and especially because
Stepmother,
oh, sorry,
her
stepmother.
birth,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, her birth was not like
But I
theirs.
think,
And
but I think
that would
even
have instantly
Edwina,
been.
I think even Edwina, had she not had the upbringing from Kate, and I don't understand how Kate had the upbringing that she did. If was her mum was part of the gentry as well, Kate's mum.
She was a little girl when her father married
No, 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 no.
Lady Sharma. I
No,
think
no,
Lady
no.
Sharma taught her because that's what she was raised to do, is teach daughters how to get husbands in the tongue, teach
Mm.
daughters music, teach daughters dancing, teach daughters how to comport themselves in public. That is what Lady Sharma knew. That is what
Mhm.
she did. And she didn't differentiate
Was
my
was
biological child from my stepchild, and she taught them both. But Kate, being older than Edwina, took over the mantle of teaching because she needed Edwina to be perfect, because she knew this money existed. Her stepmother had no idea this money was even a consideration. She thought she was cut off and they were just stuck. And that's why she sought out Lady Danbury, or Kate sought out, and her mother sought out Lady Danbury, because Edwina had been finished off so well that they believed, because of how beautiful she was and because of how docile she was and sweet and obliging and amiable, that she would find a husband on her personal merits and not connection. Kind
mm,
of like in Emma, how she tried to
yes,
fix up
the country bumpkin.
the girl with they believed her father was an earl, but they weren't sure. Fanny, was her
Mm-hmm.
name Fanny?
Mm-hmm.
And Emma thought that the idea that her father was nobility was enough, only to find out that not even the local clergy, which, as a local clergyman, he's probably a second or third son. He was
Yeah.
like, there's no way I would marry that girl.
Well, and because
Her birth is questionable.
Kate's dad was lowly clergy as well.
He was a clerk.
Sorry, clerk, not clergy. Yes, lowly
Yeah,
clerk.
he was a clerk, which means
Yeah,
he was a merchant.
yeah,
He had a store, he owned a store.
yeah. Yes.
Mhm.
So I was just wondering, like, with the way that Kate is, I thought that maybe her mum might have been higher, her bio mum might have been. I just, it's been a while since I've read the story, but just the way that she was raised, it felt like it wasn't from what she'd learnt, didn't seem to be from Mary at all.
But I thought in the book and on the show, she was very young.
Very
The
young when her
whole
mum died.
reason, the whole
Mm,
reason her dad married, I mean, he fell in love with Mary,
yes,
but the whole reason he was seeking a wife, and
a
because he
mother.
was a clerk and a well-to-do clerk,
Hmm.
he was allowed to attend some of these parties in the ton,
Yes.
much like solicitors. You have to have a certain amount of money and usually hold property,
Hmm.
which he held property in India, just wasn't US,
Yes.
and or US in England.
Yeah, you
Um,
know you will.
so he was able to enter her world, but her parents were not about it. Like, he is not what we want.
No. And isn't it funny that like person A could be worth, let's say, 10 million pounds, but has no title. Person B could be worth 10,000 pounds, but title. And somehow the value of the title is worth more than it's silly.
Well, it
Isn't
depends. I mean, value of the estate also plays into it, and how long your family has held the title. You have to look at it, and this is I mean, it's not a terrible analogy. It's actually the perfect analogy, but it's terrible that it's being compared with animal husbandry. But the humans of that time believed that it's kind of like eugenics. Like,
mm-hmm.
you were born into the gentry because you had superior blood.
Mm-hmm.
You had it was written in the stars. Like, if you think about a Knight's Tale, you
Yeah.
can't change your stars.
Yeah.
Some people are born into well-to-do noble families, some people are not. That's our lot in life. And people who were born in the gentry believed, especially the royal families, that's why they had so much, marrying into their own family and inbreeding, because they believed their royal blood was divined from God. So they needed to make sure that they had a very small pool of who they believed they could couple with to create children to keep that divine bloodline going.
Mm.
It's just a lack of information and a
Yeah.
lack of science at the time. But so I think that a lot of things got looked down upon, because if you were born to someone who was not of the gentry, it automatically meant you were of lesser birth. And that's why, like, if you think about the line, should the shades of Pemberley be thus polluted,
Mm-hmm.
it really stems from not just and they believe that the scandals and stuff that befell families, like actual human nature, running off with someone you're in love with who may
Yeah.
not be, all of that was fallacy of the bloodline. It was a
You were
disease. If
shaming
you
your
didn't,
entire family.
well, if you shamed your family, there was something wrong with you as a human being and you were defective.
Hmm.
It was a defectiveness, and defective parts have to be cast off.
I mean, there are still a lot of societies in even modern times where, like what I have a friend who lives in Malaysia and can never ever come out because he said if I came out, my entire family would stop talking to me. I would be cast aside, and not only that, but they would be cast out of their communities. Which is like, and especially because it's Pride Month at the moment as well. Like, I really hope for a time where that is no longer the case, where people are just accepted for who they love, no matter if they are gentry, who they're attracted to, no matter what, you are accepted.
There is so little real and genuine love in the world that I hope we get to a point as a society where we just let people be loved. I think
Hmm.
the issue isn't who you love. I think some people just have an issue with other people being happy because they're not.
I think they're a little bit Eloise and they think that happiness should only look the way that they want it to look or the way that they think it should look and aren't open-minded enough to see that happiness looks different for everyone and they get to choose what makes them happy.
Yeah.
For me personally, coffee makes me happy. Snuggles with my little boy make me happy. Hot water bottles from my husband and my water beside my bed make me happy.
There is nothing more beautiful than seeing another experience.
Hmm.
Like, I love videos of soldiers coming home and their dog hasn't
I
seen
was
them in
gonna say,
forever.
I was like, are you about to say fiance? Because I'm all about the dog videos because the dogs are
The
the
dogs.
most unfiltered, raw, like hysterical
But
love
but
that
for
I've
me it's
ever
not like,
seen.
yes, and the dog is excited, but just seeing the people, like, because dogs' lives are so short and you just assume like they just go about their day, and everybody says that when you walk out the door, dogs kind of forget about you till you come home, and those
Oh
videos tell
no,
me different.
no.
And the people that experience that excitement, and like they just have pure joy on their faces, like they can't stop the tears, because you
Hmm.
can cry from joy.
I cry from joy
Or
all the
seeing
time.
seeing the people that had been deaf getting their cochlear implants for the first time and
Hmm.
hearing their mother's voice, or
Hmm.
somebody they love's voice. Like, I love those things because that is the most beautiful thing to me. And I'm just going to say, if you ever get to see somebody who doesn't normally dance, that is my pinnacle.
Did you, I did exactly this. I was voice noting to you like a week ago, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw Ezra dancing, and Ezra usually says,
Mm-hmm.
I don't dance, I don't like dancing, I hate dancing, I don't like music.
Yeah.
And I was like, did I just catch you dancing? And it made me
But if
so
he's a little
happy.
autistic kid, he doesn't like to be perceived either. So you got to
No.
pretend like you didn't see it.
He's like, I didn't dance. I'm
I
like,
wasn't doing that. What are you talking about?
and he gives me this cheeky look like you saw nothing. Just pretend you didn't see that. He's
But
so
like,
funny.
my mom
We
wasn't
need
much of
to
a
we
dancer.
need to gallop.
Yeah, my mom
We,
wasn't much of a dancer, but seeing her the few times she wiggled about, like, when you
wiggle
see
it
somebody who doesn't
around.
normally dance, the joy that they experience when they do just gets me every
Yes,
time.
let's
Okay, so
gallop.
trope.
Okay, so what I want to talk
We've
about
done a lot
next.
of backstory
So
about
what
Kate.
what I want to talk about next is I think that this next part actually needs to be broken up into two parts because it is an enemies to lovers kind of trope. I think it's when they realized attraction for each other and then
Mm,
when they knew that they loved each other because I think those are two very different things and
very different.
I think that for like the initial part it was very much attraction and like
I think
obviously
Anthony knew at that horse race that
I
he
was
was
going to say
attracted to her.
the horse race, he was attracted to her, and she was so unapologetically himself that he was like, yes, finally, like, this is a woman for me. And especially after he'd
Mhm.
just been going through all of those debutante interviews where he's like, these are unremarkable women. And then he comes across Simone Ashley, who has never in her entire life, I think, ever been called unremarkable because I actually think that she is one of the hands down most beautiful goddesses in Hollywood.
I saw the funniest meme somebody posted. It was a picture of Simone Ashley and Shrithra, and I don't know her last name. It was a picture of them together, and it said, "How is it that we can create the most beautiful Indian women that seem ethereal, like they're not even a part of
Uh,
this planet. They're so beautiful, but
Chandran,
are
Chandran.
Chandran, yeah. So it's like, how can we create these beautiful Indian women that don't even look like they belong on this planet? They're so beautiful, but all of our
Yes.
men look like they snuck in. I was like, that's terrible. But it was obviously somebody who was Indian saying it. I'm just repeating their words. I'm not being,
Shady.
anything. But
Yeah.
that was a funny meme to me.
The girls are like
They're
breathtakingly beautiful. And
gorgeous.
not to say that Sharitha is absolutely like 10 out of 10 knockout as well. But I think Simone Ashley, she just has these really high cheekbones, quite angular, strong features, but I think they are just breathtakingly beautiful. Like they are strong features, but I think that the masculinity coupled with
I
this
think
with the
for
softness of her somehow is just like
Well, I think
absolutely outstanding.
traditionally, I think Charithra is
She's soft looking.
aesthetically more pretty, yeah, softer.
She's
But
softer.
there is something about just Simone Ashley herself and the
Her
way she
presence.
carries
Yes.
herself, how she walks around like, I know she's tall because she's a model, but
Yes.
she
Yeah.
walks around like she's 10 feet tall.
Yes.
She has no problem being taller than anyone else. She
No.
has no problem being taller than a man standing next to her. It kind of makes me think of how Zendaya
Yeah.
never ever
Brings
had a
herself.
problem wearing heels
Yeah.
with standing next to
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland.
Yeah.
And Tom Holland was all about it.
Yeah.
He was
It's like,
like, "Go Queen, be as tall as you want. I don't care.
yeah.
I'm tapping that." Right?
Yeah.
Like he just don't care. So, and that's just like she's always had that, that vibe and I think it's more about her vibe, whether it's traditional beauty or not. I mean, she's gorgeous,
Yes. She's truly
but
beautiful as
she
well.
she does have some
And that's what I said.
some striking features.
She has
Yeah.
angular, strong
Very, yeah.
features, but they are, and I think that's actually what
Her
attracts.
chin, she could use it as a
Yes.
weapon. I think she could stab somebody with her.
Yes. And I think that's actually what attracts Anthony to her is her
Yeah.
strength because he is like, you know what, I've had to be strong for so many people in my life. I need a partner, not a
Yeah.
submissive, not a doormat. And that's what, sadly, that
Sienna
is what
was
Edwina was going to
because she was
be.
paid.
Well, and
Well, Edwina
Edwina.
would have been worse. Edwina would have been worse than Sienna. Edwina would have been, she agreed with him all the time. And while
Yes.
it seemed like a breath of fresh air, because
Mm.
Sienna didn't always agree with him because
She just
she
bit her
was,
tongue and didn't say anything.
well, she bit her tongue most of the time, but she was paid server. She was a paid service worker. So
Hmm.
there were times that would come out to be like, no, sir, you don't get to talk to me that way just because you pay me, right? But Edwina was trained a little too well to the point where she didn't have her own thoughts and feelings for a long time.
Yeah.
It was all about pleasing the dude. And that's because it was Kate who trained her. And Kate herself took on all the hardness because she thought that's what men wanted. And I think that's what surprises her the most. And I think in terms of her, when she realized she was attracted, I honestly think it was at the races. There was they're both acting like complete maniacs over that horse race. And I think she was like, until she found out like the one guy was a setup, I think she thought, I've met, this
So
guy, there's something
I
about him.
I think that she
Her
was
tongue fell out when he came out of the water,
that I
when he
think
fell in.
I think that all of our tongues fell out, to be fair. It was honestly one of the sexiest scenes I think I've ever seen on TV. It was phenomenal. And the
Colin
anger.
Firth started it.
I
Johnny
know,
Bailey perfected it.
but the anger, like like it was
Yeah.
he was so sulky, so angry that it just was perfection.
Well, and it
But
was perfection because even that douse of cold water
I think it was
could
the
not
moment.
quell
I
his
think it was
anger over seeing her with another man.
well, and because she's playing chaperone, and that is the
Mm-hmm.
moment that you know that. I mean, you already know it beforehand, but it is undeniable at this point that Kate is just as like entranced, transfixed with
Mm-hmm.
his physical form as what he is with her, because she is meant to be shielding her sister from such an unseemly kind of
Thing.
sight.
She's supposed to be like this, and she's
But
not.
she is so like tongue wagging herself that she forgets that she's meant to shelter her sister. But she's like, that looks tasty. Oh, that's right. Human.
Oh wait,
Close your
yeah, yeah,
eyes.
yeah, yeah.
Close your eyes. You can't be looking at that, but I'll just keep looking for science.
Yeah.
Just for science, just for the spreadsheet.
I'm looking to make sure that he's not in for you.
So, um, because you know how I'm a big anime lover, there's a new anime out there that is just phenomenal called Apothecary Diaries. And uh, one of the main guys is in love with this little weirdo apothecary, and she's just my favorite anime character in such a long time. And she is spliced with autism pretty heavily. And she's just unaware that things are appropriate or not appropriate. And there's this young boy who's in love with her sister. Her sister is there's a specific name for it, a hooker, but it's got a specific name back then where you would
Asian.
sort of, but not. So courtesan. She was a
Courtesan. Yeah.
courtesan. So, but this young boy in the court fell in love with her sister, who's a courtesan. She takes him, and she goes, okay, well, if you're going to buy my sister out of her contract, I need to make sure that she's actually even going to accept you in the first place. Before we even go down that path of how much you need to pay to buy her out of her contract, let's make sure she's like you are her type. And so she's like to him, all right, like take off your clothes. I need to make sure that your physical form is the way that she would like. And this girl was like, yep, check, yep, check, yep, check, yep. And she's just completely. And then
That's
the guy
fantastic.
and
I
then
need to do this for science. Take off your clothes.
yeah. And then the guy that is in love with her walks in the room as she's like, all right, I need you to take off your undies now. I need to make sure that everything's in check. And this poor man is just melting on the floor. Like, what is happening right now?
That's amazing.
But
That's that.
it kind of just reminded me of the scene where like Kate is just like meant to be shielding Edwina, but instead she's like, I'm just looking to make sure that his form is something that would be suitable to you. I'm looking for science. I'm
Well,
just
like in the
check
study,
check
it's like,
check
oh,
check
I'm
check.
just I'm just getting this close to him.
I'm
If
I'm certainly
you
not
know,
banking this memory for
he's gonna
later.
he's gonna be passionate enough for Edwina. That's what I'm checking.
Yeah, she's got her
Promise. Promise.
checking his list, checking it twice,
Yeah.
gonna find out who's naughty or nice.
Like I need to find out before I can let Edwina deal with. Yeah.
I'd like to deal with
That's what
this.
that's the story I'm going with,
Yeah.
guys.
So I think that the first horse scene was Anthony. I think the falling in the water scene was Kate, and I think it was also that competitive.
You don't
Like,
just go 0 to 60 though. I think she sparked attraction with him at the races when they
yes.
matched energy,
Yes, I
but
was about to
then
say.
she
So
couldn't
what I was
hide it
saying
anymore.
was them like screaming at these horses
Yeah.
that was their foreplay. That was their build up.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Like you can imagine both of them went home like feeling beyond frustrated. And I think that's why falling in the water was such a like shock to Anthony is like he's just had this huge build up. He's like pumping with adrenaline and then splash cold water
Yeah.
to the face. Like it's just knocked him right off his socks sort of thing.
No, that's so I think they both felt the vibe.
Yes.
And
And
the
falling in love
races like
can give adrenaline. Like it and I mean
mhm.
especially if you do it that way.
Yeah, they were intensity from the jump.
Mhm.
And I think that's what makes the two of them as actors and their chemistry together. That's what people see is that chemistry because they have real chemistry. Where the whole trajectory of their courtship romance and then including Edwina in there, and how that goes is kind of red flaggy.
Mhm.
They get away with it because they naturally have great chemistry together,
Mhm.
and you see it before Edwina becomes a thing.
Well, I'm gonna say that I'm actually gonna split this
It
into
almost gives for
I'm gonna
it
split
almost
this
gives
into
forbidden love
it is.
because
What is so this is kind of split into three categories for me actually because I think the moment that he felt the love, didn't know it, didn't acknowledge it, but the moment that we saw that he felt the love is the beasting, where he realizes
he
I
acknowledged
can't
it there.
lose her.
Yeah, I think that's where he acknowledged it. I think he felt it earlier, but he didn't, not that he didn't know. I think he was like telling himself, this
Mm.
can't happen. What are
Hmm.
you doing, Anthony? You have a duty to your family.
Yeah.
This is not the woman for you. And
Hmm.
I think his inner monologue was beating himself up for and just writing it off as attraction because he has had physical attraction in the past, so he can easily chalk it up and say this is all this is until he realized he couldn't lose her because he knew what that be in his
Yes.
world.
Yeah.
But I think that the moment he recognized that he might have feelings more than attraction,
Hmm.
it's kind of a Pride and Prejudice though. It's when she comes up to the house, when they come up
Yes.
to Aubrey Hall,
Hmm.
and she's looking around and he walks up to her. He doesn't go up to Edwina. He wants to know what she thinks
Yes.
of Aubrey Hall. And I think for him that, and then seeing Newton, because
Hmm.
where she's the gatekeeper for Edwina, Newton is the
Newton's.
gatekeeper for her.
Yes.
And he's like, nothing's easy. But I think it was then that he realized, like, he started seeing like there's something more than just sexual attraction here, because he cared about what she thought about what was
Mhm.
his.
And I think that a moment that Kate realized was, but again, still wasn't willing to say the words out loud, was the moment that he stood up to Edwina's parents and was like, "You will not speak to them this way. You will not treat them this
And
way. This is
included
my
her.
house." Yes, he was protecting her and her family, not just like. And he broke so many etiquettes, and he was demanding and knew like, this is my family. You will not mess with them. He is.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you though, like that's when she knew and she acknowledged it to herself.
Mhm.
But I think the moment she fell in love with him is when his rump hit mud. I mean, most women, they fall in love when the man they see who's the man, and he's like all that, like he's so confident and assertive and
Hmm.
whatever. But when he is in a silly, goofy, like
Hmm.
at most women's romance stories, like when they talk about when they fell in love with the man they love, it's always when they're being silly, goofy,
Yeah.
sensitive, and not that alpha male
The facade that
type.
they show everyone
Yeah,
else.
right.
When you get
Like
to see
women love knowing you gave them something
something
special
special.
that no one
Yes.
else got.
Yeah.
Even if it is you being a complete mess,
Hmm.
messing up, faux pas, embarrassing moment, whatever. And then the fact that they were both fell in the mud together, they laughed together. The
Hmm.
moment they laughed together, I knew
Hmm.
they loved each other.
Yeah.
Like they both were, even in a bad situation, they could laugh through it, and that falls into my strengths for them for their marriage. Actually,
Hmm.
no matter what it is, they can laugh with themselves and laugh at themselves. And so I think that's when she fell in love. Like Anthony Bridgerton, arrogant,
Pompous.
know it all, pompous, with his ass in the mud. Yeah. And I think that's why she looks at him when Colin says, "Don't get out of the mud." Like when you fall off the horse, don't get out of the mud. She
Well,
looks right at him like,
they
nope.
actually said that like the love stories are all surrounding horses. Like we see Simon first come, like the first thing we see of Simon is him on a horse. You've got Colin who fell off a horse, falling in love with Penelope, and then you've got Anthony and Kate. Horse racing, falling in love during horse racing. And I mean, he buys a horror, Kate. Sorry, for Edwina.
Edwina, yeah.
Like there's horses everywhere. Isn't it Jack?
Yeah,
No.
well, it's
What's
the
the
time. It's the time period too.
is the horses Jack?
I think in real life it's Jack. I think.
And then he thought that it was
I don't
Jack one time
remember.
and it wasn't Jack, it was a different horse, and they were like, "Don't you even know your horses?"
Yeah, but then he recognized that he wanted Jack for him for Fiera, which is
Yes.
awesome.
I did see actually on side stories. Actually in Bridgerton news, I saw this week announced part two of Wicked.
The trailer
It looked
for
phenomenal.
good.
So, Steven downloaded Wicked for us to watch on Saturday night, but I crawled into bed at 7:30. I didn't go to sleep till like 3 a.m., but I didn't watch it because I crawled into bed early because my tummy was like,
Oh
so
my
I
gosh,
just
when you watch it, we have to talk.
okay. I said
I love
to
it.
one of our listeners, Abby, I was like, look, I've downloaded it. I plan on watching it, and then I didn't watch it because I went to bed. I didn't sleep, but I rested.
Well, and the funny memes that are out right now are if I had a nickel for every time Jonathan Bailey goes down,
Yes,
walks
I'd
down
have
the
two
aisle
nickels
with,
with the wrong woman.
yeah,
I saw
with
that.
with somebody who's socially appropriate, but he's in love with the woman who's not
Yes.
socially appropriate, I'd have two nickels. But it's funny that it happened twice.
Yes. That is funny.
So
What else?
true. Like,
Yeah.
that's how you got the job. Season 2 of Bridgerton. That's our.
That man knows how to walk down the wrong aisle.
He will be so committed to doing the wrong thing
Yeah.
that it'll make doing the
Uh,
right thing that much better.
yeah. But correct me if I'm wrong. She gets killed in The
You're
Wizard of
wrong.
Oz,
No, I'm
right?
kidding.
She gets killed in The Wizard of Oz, right?
In The Wizard of Oz, yes.
Yeah, so we know that it's not going to have a happy ending. So I'm like, do we really want to commit to a story where I
But
like someone and she dies?
okay, you go there. You hold on to that until you
Okay.
obviously you haven't seen Wicked
No, I haven't.
or read the
I
book.
don't, no, I haven't.
Although the musical is different than the book. The book does have a sad ending, but it's not what and musical fixes that for the people who like happy.
Well, I've seen a lot of stuff out there that they want the two witches to end up together.
Oh, they're playing a lot of varying sexuality stuff because originally the book was there was a budding romance.
Okay.
So there was they both had thoughts of like, oh my gosh, should I be thinking about this?
Yeah. Okay. Moving
Okay, so
along.
strengths. What do we
Strength.
think the strengths of Anthony and Kate are going to be in their marriage? I mean, and these are the only people we've seen
I was like,
post marriage.
Anthony's strength looks good.
However,
Wet.
it's only the first year. So, I mean, let's talk 5 years down the road. What is still going to work for them 5 years down the road?
What I think works for them 5 years down the road is I think that they both take burden off of each other. Anthony lifts up Kate and realizes that having a title doesn't determine, or like, sorry, no, being worthwhile to those around her is just her being herself. She doesn't have to make herself like, and I think this actually might make him, and I think it does. You know what? I actually think that that episode where we see him go to the bar and appreciate his brothers. Thank you for filling in. You did a great job. I think that came from maybe learning to understand Kate and how her sense of worth was so tied to getting her
The
sister
things she
married
did.
off and being useful to her family, that maybe Anthony realized I love my brothers just for who they are. They don't have to do things to be worthwhile to me. They're worthwhile because they're my brothers and I love them. And I think that's why he wanted to show a little bit more appreciation. So I think a big strength is that Kate helps Anthony grow as a person in him healing her.
Well, I think they both healed each other. I think that scene in Mondrick's bar where he is acknowledging his brother's contributions
Mhm.
to society, even if Collins are just having a lot of
He wanted
girls
to
split about
acknowledge
him.
anything, you know?
He wanted to acknowledge anything. I think because he no longer has the extreme weight of duty
Hmm.
and he understands what it feels like to have someone take some of that off of your hand. So he appreciates his wife for it. I think he understands he needs to appreciate his brothers for what they take off of his plate and acknowledge the good because he's so focused on being a martyr for so long that he's not. Yes,
2025
ma'am.
Bridgerton family, they would have a duty jar for Anthony, like a swear jar. And
Oh
they
my
would all
gosh.
be so wealthy because of it. He would lose his
Or
entire wealth by saying, my duty, my
no,
duty.
no, okay, no. And this is a Gen X thing because we could do it with any movie or word or whatever. But seriously, I think the family would have a drinking game of
Yes.
any time
Yes.
Anthony said duty, they had to take a drink. And it would be done like, let's say it's at like the engagement party or whatever. And Anthony has no idea why they keep drinking. Like, why are you guys trying to get so sauced?
Why is mum
Is it my
absolute?
duty?
Why is
Is it
mum on the
my
floor?
duty to keep you? And they're just like, duty.
No, I want the scene of both Lady D and Violet saying together in unison, Judy, and clinking their glass and both downing them at the same time. It would be hilarious.
I want an episode. I want a scene now with all the ladies, like Lady D, Violet, like all the married women,
Doing
at
doing
like
a
at
two-parter of the Married Women's Club that she, the
yeah, the
casino
Married
night.
Women's Club, only finale, it's them, right?
Hmm.
Like there's so
Well, we're
many
supposed
of
to get
them
it next
now.
season. Not all of them. Like, I mean, but it'd be so easy to put Lady Danbury in the mix of the Tea Party with Sophie.
Oh
Not Tea
yeah,
Party,
very.
sorry, the
She's always in the drawing room for tea. I think that's why they
yes.
had her over. They had so many teas between Violet and Danbury for that reason, so that
Hmm.
she doesn't look out of place in season, because she's going to be a part of that room. I'm pretty darn sure.
We're gonna get the scene. Sorry, this is a side tangent.
But I want it
We're
to
got
not be tea, and I want it to be something else, and I want them women
we're,
cackling, and I
we're
want the brothers walking by going,
we're gonna get the scene. We've got Rosamund and Posy at Bridgerton House, and Sophie's
mm-hmm.
working there, and she's gonna have to say to the staff and confide in them, I can't serve them. They're from my past, and it's going to
Yeah.
get back to Violet somehow, and that's how that was just. She won't pry
I
too
just think
hard, but
rather
she'll
than
say,
do
"I know there's
something out
something."
on the street, because it's harder to
Yes.
film on, outside than it is inside. I think that's
Hmm.
how they're going to have Posey recognize her, is
Yes.
bringing them inside the house.
Well,
So for me, I think their strength, what's going to get
sorry,
them
I'm just.
through, I think what's going to get them through is the fact that they already went through the hard part of understanding, like, not what not communicating does, and they're going to over communicate almost. But yes, they support each other. They understand Anthony doesn't have to be the strong one. He gets to be soft, he gets to be goofy, he gets to be giddy. And Kate doesn't have to be the man, being her masculine. She doesn't have to be in charge. She doesn't have to be in control all the time. Anthony can take that over. I think they're a perfect team in that aspect, where they can, when a little more masculine energy is needed or a little more feminine, I think they both have a mix of both.
Hmm.
We see more of the softness and the feminine of Anthony in season 3,
Hmm.
that I think that they just bring out the perfect balance in each other, and they are
Yes.
perfectly balanced.
Yeah, I think uh, it's really, really hard because we can only judge the characters based on the actions that they are doing in the TV series. But personally, for me, I don't think that Anthony would have ever actually left. I mean, I do think he would have potentially gone to India, but when Kate kind
I
of
think that was all just written in for Johnny Bailey's schedule.
yes and no.
Anthony,
I do think that he would have potentially gone to India so that his child and his wife could experience her family and everything. But I think the
for
way
sure.
that Kate phrased it initially of why they kept going missing before the India thing, she phrased it as, I've just gotten done kind of taking care of my sister for the
Being in
last
charge,
18
yeah.
years. I'm not ready to be in charge of a whole family. You've got people that you can rely on, rah, rah, rah. Let's just shuck our responsibility. And I think the way that it was phrased and the fact that he went along with it kind of doesn't really actually go along with either of their characters. It doesn't really match for me, and it felt like it was a little bit forced. So in my head canon, that's not
I
Anthony.
understood it. I
Yeah.
understood it because I became parentified. I became responsible for my family at a young age, like, not super young. We all had chores really young, but I became my mom's emotional support child between 12 and 14 before my dad left. And then she included myself and my sister in decisions for the home so that we could keep our home, keep the lights on, that sort of
Hmm.
thing. So I took on a lot of responsibility at a young age. And when I went to college, like, I still describe college as kind of a purgatory. You're not quite an adult, but you're not quite a child. It's like
Hmm.
that. Even though it's supposed to be for studying, it's supposed to be to
It's more
learn
to learn life skills on your own.
a career path. For me, what it became for me that first time around, I did go back to school in my 30s. What it was for me that first time around is living a life that I chose every day, because I didn't get to live the life I chose for so long. I had to do what was right and responsible, and I was in survival mode. Like, we were all in survival mode, and
Hmm.
for a while there in college, I got to just be. And I can see them both, not for very long. I think they did it for a long time because of his schedule, but I
Yes.
can I can see them. Yes, we're going to take a 6 month honeymoon.
Sure. Yeah.
We're going to rest. We're going to just enjoy each other. No rules,
I
no
don't think there was any
responsibilities.
resting.
Um no, I think they were trying to make an error. That's what they called it. Ha ha. But I do when she said she's sitting there doing paperwork and you can tell like she's kind of not into it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I don't see like he's thinking she's upset Violet is still there and I don't think she is, and the reason she wasn't is because if they extricated themselves right then, they were in the perfect moment where Benedict had already been doing all of his stuff. Probably all the documents hadn't been signed to transfer
Mm-hmm.
stuff back yet, totally. And Violet was still in the home to take care of the younger girls. That I think she thought, let's extend this a little longer. Violet's not wanting to go anywhere anytime soon. So it was just squeezing out a little more time of not having to be responsible. And I absolutely felt that. I felt that for the both of them in that moment. Like
Oh, you know
I
what?
related to that so much.
I think Kate realized, oh no, we have to get Eloise married off now. We thought the whole Edwina situation was a whole time. Oh no. No, I'm bowing out. Let's just let's leave before we've got to deal with Eloise.
Well, and truthfully, I think part of Kate's issue, although Violet was there was this whole laughy, humorous thing about who is Lady Bridgerton
Hmm.
and who is supposed to be responsible for what, and really Kate is supposed to be
Well,
responsible for Francesca, but Francesca was
yes.
hardly around and she
Yes.
had not gotten a chance to get to
Did
know her.
did we
She
get
knew
any
Edwina.
we didn't get any scenes between the two of them, did we? Not one to one.
No, she was not at Aubrey Hall. She was already off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, wait, she was at Aubrey Hall because she asked Edwina to, or asked Eloise to come hold the baby. But that's the only time we see her besides at dinner. Like they didn't talk, they didn't get to know each other. Francesca was she was a kid that isolated herself. Like she
Hmm.
didn't need to be around a lot of people, or and she didn't really like new people.
Hmm.
So Kate didn't know her like she did Edwina, and I think Kate was balking at the idea of being the one that would enter her in and like walk her around
Well,
and handle that.
especially because she knew what Edwina wanted because she'd had a whole lifetime around her, but she didn't know.
Because she had told what she wanted. She told Edwina, this is what you want because this is what I want, and I think everybody wants
But
what I want.
I actually think that we're going to get a lot of scenes between Eloise and Kate next season because I think
Yes.
Eloise looks up to Kate because she's a female that was single until she was 28 years old, 26, 20,
26.
26 years old. I mean,
26.
you may as well be
And
28. Like it's
she
ancient to
didn't.
them. And she didn't want to marry. And it wasn't until she actually found someone
Well,
who was worthy.
Eloise thought she didn't want to marry. Kate thought she didn't want to marry, but Kate
Yes.
really wanted to marry. She
Yes.
just didn't believe she was going to find anyone who would
Well,
want to marry her.
and
And
Lady
that is not
Danbury,
Eloise's whole thing.
but that was kind of Lady Danbury's role this in season two was teaching Kate, hey, you may think that, that my lifestyle, and everything is great and I get to be this independent woman and all these things. But one, I have money. Two, I had love. I lived my life. I had children. And now I get to enjoy this because I did the
Yeah,
hard yards. You have
you're
to do the hard
denying all of
yards.
those things. Yeah.
Yes.
You're denying all of those things because you're afraid, and Kate was afraid of
Yes.
rejection
Yes.
because
And
she never felt that acceptance. Even though Mary accepted her as a child, she never felt it. She always felt like she had to
yes.
earn it.
But I think
And
that
I
Kate is going to be that for Eloise next season. I think Kate's going to say, hey, you may think that you don't want to find love because you're afraid of this, that, or whatever. But actually, when it's the right person, those things aren't scary anymore. And I think so when Eloise starts connecting with Sir Philip over letters and she starts connecting with someone, not just, it's not blind attraction. It's not, he's not putting me on a pedestal because of how I look or whatever. It's true connection. That's when she's like, oh, maybe I can make this work actually, because it's kind of what Kate said. When it's the right
and
person, it works.
I think they're going to make Kate the confidant there. I think that
Yes.
for it to work and not be too similar to Colin and Penn writing letters to each other, I think that Eloise is going to confide in someone, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it's going to be Kate
Mm-hmm.
because that's the relationship they're building. Is that Kate is the big sister that to Eloise that Daphne had not been or could not be because
Well,
they
to
were
be
so
honest,
different.
I think that Eloise would respect Kate a whole lot more than her sister because her strength is
Yeah.
more in line with what she values.
Yeah. Well, and
So I think that's I think that's
Daphne's
going to be
strength
another
lies in
strength.
what she values.
Yes.
I think Daphne's strength lies in what she values, but Eloise just couldn't get on that train. She could
Yes.
not get on the train of those values. And I think that Kate is she sees Kate as having the same values as her. She just screwed up and fell in love in
Hmm.
Eloise's world, right? But
Yeah.
then that's going to be what happens with Eloise. And I think it's going to be Kate that says, oh
Go
my
on.
God. I think the whole how do you know it's love conversation between Colin and Daphne becomes
Mm.
Eloise and Kate.
I could 100% see that. And because we got a little bit of not that conversation, but it was more like how can you trust someone or, between Kate and you know what? So this is going to be one of the strengths. I think this is going to be a strength between Kate and Anthony is that he has always really struggled to connect with majority of his siblings because he was more of a dad
Mm-hmm.
than a sibling. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that Kate helps him to bridge that gap. And I think he sees her handling his siblings for him. Well, not for him, but like alongside him. And he realizes this really is my perfect match. I'm good at the book side of things. I'm good at the managing
Mm-hmm.
side of things. You are good at the people and you fit in with my family so beautifully and we match each other's energy, She is committed and isn't giving bad advice. She is giving really honest, truthful, heartfelt
Mm-hmm.
advice. And
And I think that's going to play into season 4 too, because you would never know that she came from the background she did. And I
no.
think Sophie is going to make assumptions. And then when it
Mm-hmm.
comes down to this can happen because this
Mm-hmm.
is where I came from, Sophie's going
Mm-hmm.
to be like, what?
What? Okay, weaknesses.
Um,
I think the butting heads.
when
I think there will be
I
things they butt
think
heads on.
they can both become singularly focused, and if they become singularly focused at the same time, heads
Yes. I think that they still will have very explosive fights,
arguments.
but they're just
Yeah.
because both of them are like, come on, like, why can't you see it from my perspective? And they're both so headstrong that I think they're going to have a hard time finding a compromise between them. I think they'll get there eventually. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that once Kate has children and we see her as a mum, I think that's where, and I mean, we've already seen how much Anthony has already softened and he's already like, yes, yes, ma'am. Anything you say, ma'am. Like, even though that was Sienna's role,
I
he's
think
kind of in that role now because he's just, oh, father-in-law just popped his head through. Oh, my
well,
heart.
I think that he when she becomes a mom, I think she's going to dive in head first and
Hmm.
she's going to have days where she forgets to switch to wife voice and
Yes,
she's going to treat
mum,
him like
mum
another
voice.
child
He is a
and
child.
that's going to truly upset him. He's going to be
I
like, "Who you talking to? Who you talking to,
Oh,
Kate?"
I do it to my husband all the time. I'd be like, now, Ezra Michael, we put our socks in the washing basket. Don't learn from other people in this household who think they land on the floor. They go in the basket like a good boy. Don't be naughty
Well,
boy
like
like daddy.
and like I cut out the part for that outro. I cut out the part where you're like, that's not what I said. Because I love the cuddles, cuddles, cuddles part so much that I cut
Yeah.
out the that's not what I said. So it would fit. And that, but that's so like, and I think women do that. Like we end up taking over and mothering everybody at some point.
Yeah.
Um,
Just my default mode.
yeah, it becomes default sometimes for
All my
sure.
friends actually call me Mama Tash or Mama Bear.
Yeah.
For today, gentle listeners, we will leave it there and continue on next week's episode where we are going to cover Featherington relationship. I think we'll do both in one if we can. Well, I mean, we're tangent queens. We'll see how we go. If you have anything in particular you would like us to cover or any Bridgerton knowledge you would like us to share, please head to our Facebook page, The Ladies Bridgerton. If you're enjoying our podcast, please remember to click follow on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you are listening. We are also now over on YouTube, so please head over there for exclusive content. Engage in any way you can, like, comment, subscribe, share it to your friends, so we can monetize that platform so that we can continue to bring amazing content to you.
Well, I don't want to say continue. I want to say get better
Yes,
because the goal is to improve our software, our equipment,
our
because we
snacks.
like doing this. I don't need to improve my snacks. I like my taste in snacks. But you can also find us on Patreon or buy me a coffee if you want to help support what we're doing. And once again, thank you for listening to the musings of two mad, busy women
Yours truly, Tosh the Kiwi.
and Lady Patty.